everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you could join me today. We're going to be learning how to make that gorgeous single strand beaded necklace, the one that you saw in the intro. And I know many of you already know how to do single strand necklaces, but today's tutorial is going to dive into something a little bit more complex than just stringing beads. We're going to be learning how to combine colors, and we're going to be using the beads from the Curated Bead box for the month of November. Now, if you don't have those beads, you can still make this project. And if you're a beginner, this is the perfect video for you, because not only will you learn how to make a necklace, but you'll also learn how to combine colors, beads, and how to create bead patterns. And speaking of bead patterns, I am going to be using the magic rods. Now, if you're not familiar with the magic rods, it's a product that I carry in my Etsy store. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, I don't have the rods and I don't want to buy the rods, and therefore I don't want to make the necklace. Well, I have some good news for you. You don't need those rods, okay? You can just use your beading mat or your beading board. It's perfectly fine. Now, if you're not familiar with the Curated Bead box, I'll leave a link to their website down below so you can go check it out. So anyway, guys, we're going to be using beads from that box. We're going to be using the magic rods, and I was actually going to give away the necklace, but I thought I would give away a set of magic rods instead. So if you'd like to participate in the giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below. Now, if you don't want to leave a comment, that's okay too. You can just write the word subscribed, and I'll include you in the giveaway. But anyway, I'll leave the information about the giveaway down in the description, along with information about the Curated Bead box. I'll also leave some timestamps for the video in case you want to skip forward to any portion of the video. And as always, I will leave a list of all the materials that you'll need for the project. So anyway, guys, I can't wait to show you how to make this necklace. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around and we'll get started. Here's the box we're going to be working with today. The name of the box is Fantasy Flight, as you can see. Initially, I was going to pick the easiest beads from this box, but then I thought, you know what? Let me just pick the most challenging ones because I know my viewers are going to appreciate it, hopefully anyways. One of my favorite Vincent van Gogh quotes is the following: "The beginning is perhaps more difficult than anything else, but keep heart because it will turn out all right." And I promise you, this necklace is going to turn out beautiful. Let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be using. Okay, so as you can see, we have these neon colored beads. We're definitely going to use these, okay? The first impulse is to team these up with something bright, but that's not what we're going to do today. We're going to do the exact opposite. And I'm going to show you how to make it work. So we're going to be using a few of these beads. They're 8mm size beads, and the color is neon yellow, and the bead is a Jade-style glass bead. We're also going to use these beads here. I love these. These are absolutely gorgeous. These are also 8mm in size, and the color is a yellowish grayish color, as you can see, and they're duo style glass beads. And we're also going to use beads from this strand. These are 10mm in size, and they're brown and turquoise in color. They're also duo style glass beads. And I only have 9 left, as you can see, and we're going to use all 9. We'll be using some items from the Finding Starter Kit. You'll need your crimp beads, and you'll also need your beading wire. And that's it from this box. Let me put this away. As you can see, the beads are quite different from each other. These have copper and blue tones. These are definitely yellow and grayish in color, and these are definitely a neon yellow. I would say borderline green because they're so bright, but there's a way to make them coordinate, okay? And most people would do the opposite. When they see a neon color like this, they want to automatically team it up with something else that's bright, but I'm going to do the exact opposite, okay? And I'm not going to use silver tones, even though your box came with a silver Finding Starter Kit. So when I get beads like these, I always try to distribute my colors evenly throughout the necklace, and I usually insert some other color that's going to tie the whole thing in, okay? And the color that we're going to insert today is this metal color. It's a bronze color, and I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, are you nuts? I'm not nuts. We're going to use bronze, okay? And I will show you how in just a few moments, okay? And the reason I'm using bronze is because I want to tone down that neon color a little bit. So instead of highlighting the color, I'm going to tone it down. And the way I'm going to do it is by using these bronze colored bead caps. As you can see, these have a very delicate filigree pattern on them. They're very, very delicate bead caps. They're not heavy at all. And what this will do is it'll decorate the beads and tone down the color. Okay, so let me put these down. I'm going to be using these on the smaller 8mm beads. On the larger one, I'm going to use these. These are a little bit larger bead caps, and they're a different shape, but they're bronze colored, as you can see, and they do have a filigree type of pattern, okay? So let me put these down. In addition to these bead caps, I'm going to tone down the colors a little bit by using some seed beads. These are size 6O, okay, and the color is, let me see what the color is, black diamond copper lined, okay. Let me pull some out. So these work really well because the color is black diamond, and if you look closely, they have a little bit of a bluish cast, okay. So the inside is copper, the outside is transparent, but it has a bluish cast, which picks up the blue from these 10mm beads, okay? And you're probably worried that you don't have these beads, but you know something? I don't know what I have until I start looking through my stash, and then I just look for things that coordinate, okay? I didn't plan this. These have been in my stash for at least, I would say, 2 years, and I haven't had a chance to use them. But when I saw them and held them up against these beads, I realized that, you know, they were a perfect match. So you need to go into your stash and see what you can find. If you don't have these exact beads, that's okay. You can use something similar. You can use some that are brown. You can use Picasso finish seed beads. You can use anything that has brown in it, or copper tones, or even tan tones. Whatever you can use that picks up the colors from the beads that you have down here, okay? But anyway, I don't think you're going to find these if you go looking for them. I got these at Michael's and I just haven't had a chance to use them, so now it's a perfect opportunity to use them. Let me put them down for the time being. I'm going to be using a lobster claw clasp, 2 6mm jump rings, and some wire guardians or wire guards. If you've never used these before, I'll teach you how to use them. And if you don't have them, that's okay too. You don't have to have them. It's just another option, and it gives the beading wire a little bit more protection. You're also going to need some crimp bead covers, okay? And these are 3mm in size. I got these on Amazon. And you'll need 2 of them. My necklace will be pretty long. It'll be about 36 inches long. That could change later on once we start arranging the beads, but that's what I'm planning on. Let me put these out of the way for the time being. So here are the rods that I mentioned in the introduction. I'm going to be using these to create bead patterns, and they are very, very useful for bead patterns because they're rigid. They bend a little bit, but they hold their shape, okay? They're very thin, so they fit through all kinds of beads, including seed beads. They have little stoppers on the end, so you can hold your beads real snugly up against each other, including bead caps. You can thread round beads, square beads, oval, nuggets, all kinds of beads, and you can get very accurate measurements. This is what I like to use for most of my projects because it really does help me in the design of necklaces. Obviously, most of you are not going to have these, so it's perfectly fine for you to just use a beading mat, okay, or a beading board. That's the other option. Now, before I came up with this idea, I used to just get some beading wire and I would string my bead patterns on beading wire, and then I would simply string them on and unstring them until I got just the right pattern, bead pattern, or the right amount of beads. And that's perfectly fine, but the only problem is that you don't want to throw that piece of wire away, okay? You want to keep reusing it. And so I used to have a piece of beading wire for that purpose. So anyway, these have other benefits that I don't want to get into right now because it would make the video too long, but I'm going to be using these today. All right, so let's go ahead and get the beads that we need. You're going to need 10 of these neon colored beads. There are my 10. You're going to need 8 of these. And you're going to need 9 of these beads. And of course, you're going to need the 2 different kinds of bead caps. You're going to need this kind and this kind, okay? And I will leave a list of all the materials down below, the size of the bead caps and everything. I think I got these on Etsy and I got these on Amazon. But they're pretty easy to find. And if you can't find the exact type, I'm sure you can find something similar that's similar in size. And here are my seed beads. I'm definitely going to be using more than this, but I didn't want to put a whole pile there. So I'll just add some more as we go along. All right, so I'm going to start by creating a bead component, okay? And I think I'm going to start with the center bead, okay? And this is my center bead. This is the larger one of the 3. So let me go ahead and thread that on. And I do want to put a bead cap on it. Okay. On this side, let me put my stopper on. And I'm going to go to this side and thread on another bead cap. As you can see, it fits really nicely and it really dresses up the bead. Okay. So now what I think I'll do is add a little spacer, and my spacers are going to be the seed beads, the 6O seed beads. As you can see, the copper lining picks up the coppery colors in the bead really nicely. Okay, and now I want to add one of these bead caps, a neon bead, and another bead cap. Now the shape of these bead caps are really neat because what it does is it elongates the bead. Okay, so it no longer looks round, which I like. But I think what I want to do is add a little bead inside the bead cap, okay, because there's a little space there, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is offload, thread on a seed bead, pop it into that bead cap like this, put the bead back on, add another seed bead, and then put the other bead cap on. And that fills up the little space inside that bead cap really nicely. And it adds a little bit of color. Okay, so if you go outside and the sun hits it, you'll be able to see a little bit of that bead, which makes it even more interesting. So now I'm going to add another one of these seed beads. Put my stopper on. And I'm going to go to this side now. So now I want to add a seed bead, a bead cap, another seed bead for the inside of the bead cap, a neon bead, another seed bead, and another bead cap. And this is what we have so far. As you can see, the bronze colored bead caps tone down the neon colored beads, and I really love that effect. Now I know you can't see it right now because you're only seeing this beaded component, but once we get done with the rest of the necklace, you're going to see how beautiful it's going to look. So now I'm going to add another seed bead. Now that we have this beaded component, we're going to measure it, but let me go ahead and put my stopper on so I don't lose my beads. And bring the stoppers in to keep everything together. Now let's go ahead and measure it. It measures 2 inches from this bead cap to this bead cap, not counting the seed beads at the end. Okay, and that's good to know because one of the things I like to do is to create segments that are similar in size. So what I'm going to do now is add more seed beads until I get a total of 2 inches. So let me go ahead and thread some on. And because I'm using my rods, it's easy for me to pick up these seed beads, as you can see. So I'm going to thread on enough beads to measure 2 inches. Let's see what we have so far. It looks like I need a few more. Maybe 3 more. Let me put my stopper on. And let's see what we have. That's exactly 2 inches worth of seed beads, okay? So now that I know this is 2 inches, I'm going to count the seed beads. And I have a total of 18 seed beads. I'm going to move them down. And I'm going to create another beaded component over here. Let me remove my stopper. I'm going to start with this bead cap. A seed bead to go inside the bead cap. And this time I'm going to use this color. Another seed bead. Another bead cap. Another seed bead. One of these bead caps. One of these larger beads. Another large bead cap. Another seed bead. And that looks really nice so far. I love that. And now let's add one of these bead caps, another seed bead to go inside, another one of these, another seed bead, and another bead cap. Let me put my stopper on. And this is what we have so far. As you can see, the bronze colored bead caps have toned down the neon, but I love the neon because it adds a splash of color. It's so pretty. So what I'm going to do is alternate my colors. So I'm going to have this colored bead component, then a series of seed beads, then the neon colored, then another series of seed beads, then another one of the yellow colored components, and so on. So it's going to alternate yellow, neon, yellow, neon. I hope that makes sense. So now I need to do a little bit of math to figure out how many of each component I need to build. Okay, I'm back. I've decided I'm going to build 9 of these beaded components and 9 of the seed bead segments for a total of 18. So 9 plus 9 is 18, and if you multiply that by 2 inches, that's a total of 36 inches. Now the clasp will add another inch or so the necklace will end up being a little bit more than 36 inches. But let me show you on a piece of paper how we're going to do it. Here's a rough sketch. As you can see, I'm going to have a total of 9 beaded components. Some of them are going to have the yellow beads and some of them are going to have the neon beads. And I'm going to have a total of 5 neon components and 4 yellow components, okay? Since 5 is an odd number, I'm going to place one of them at the bottom. That'll be a neon colored beaded component. And then I'm going to do a yellow one, a neon one, a yellow one, and a neon one, and the same on the other side. In between each of the beaded components, I'm going to have seed bead segments. Each segment's going to be 2 inches long, except at the clasp, okay? This one's only going to be 1 inch on each side of the clasp. And the reason I'm doing this is because your Finding Starter Kit came with a piece of beading wire that's 40 inches long. So I don't want to make the necklace any longer than 36 inches because then you won't have enough room to do the bead crimping and everything else, okay? But if you have beading wire that is longer than 40 inches, by all means, make these 2 inches if you want to, okay? But mine are going to be 1 inch by the clasp, which really won't matter because like I said, the clasp is going to add an inch anyways to this section here. So it should be fine. But anyway, this is how we're going to do it, okay? This gives you some idea. So now I'm going to go ahead and build my 9 beaded components, 5 of the neon and 4 of the yellow ones. And I'm going to add some seed beads as well. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Here are my rods all threaded up, as you can see. I want to show you something real quick. These filigree bead caps are kind of on the soft side, so you can actually push them so they're really snug up against the bead, as you can see. And I just love these seed beads because, like I said before, they have a bluish cast, so they pick up the blue from these large beads really nicely. So anyway, I love how these look, so all we have to do now is put them on the beading wire. I have some crimp beads here, and I'm not too concerned that they're silver because we're going to be covering them up with crimp bead covers. Here are my wire guardians or wire guards. Here are my crimp bead covers. And here's my beading wire. So the first thing we're going to do is thread on a crimp bead. You're going to thread on a wire guard like this. Take the tail and thread it through the other end, like this. Bring it down. What I like to do is bring those little legs together. So I'm going to use some crimping pliers. These are by Xuron. And I'm just going to bring those little legs together carefully, okay, just a little bit. Make sure you take any slack out of the beading wire. And now you're going to thread the tail back through the crimp bead like this. Bring it down. Take out any slack. like this. Now you do want to make sure that the beading wire isn't crossed inside there, and it's kind of hard to see because it's covered up by the crimp bead. But you definitely want them separated, okay? Take your crimping pliers, and these are by Xeron. You're going to use that first notch. You're going to place the bead inside that notch like this and give it a squeeze. So this is what you should have. Turn it on its side, and now you have 3 other notches here. I usually like to pick the middle one. So place your crimp bead inside the middle one, or whichever one you want, like this, and give it a squeeze, and that should fold that crimp bead over. I usually go to the smaller notch and tighten it a little bit more. So this is what you should have. Slide your crimp cover on like this, and then using your crimping pliers very gently close it up the best way you can. You can use the notches in your pliers to close up the crimp bead, but you do want to do it gently because you don't want to dent the metal, okay? And you want to go all the way around the bead so that it's nice and round. Just like that, okay? There is a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to leave that tail, okay? Sometimes I snip it off, but I'm leaving it there today because I know a lot of you like the tail there. We're going to actually thread that tail back through some beads. So now we're going to go to the opposite end. So now I'm going to go ahead and thread my beads, and I've already arranged the rods the way I want them. I'm going to start with this one here. This one has the 1-inch segment. So this is going to go at the beginning of the necklace. So I'm going to remove the stopper. One of the nice things about using these rods is that I can grab several beads at the same time. So I'm going to grab a section here like this, and I'm going to thread them directly onto my beading wire. Just like that. It just makes it so much easier and faster because the rods hold the beads in perfect alignment, bead caps and all, and I can just thread them directly onto the wire like that. So anyway guys, I'm going to go ahead and keep threading these until I get to the end. So let me go ahead and speed up the video. Alright, so I'm almost done, but before I finish, let me just show you something really quick. I'm going to put a clip on this end so I don't lose my beads. I'm going to go to the beginning, and I'm going to tuck that little tail into my beads, okay? Before I move everything up, you want to make sure that tail is tucked in nicely, okay? And then you can go ahead and move your beads up, remove any gaps or any spaces. But you don't want it too tight, okay? You want it to be fluid, okay? You don't want it too tight. You don't want those beads too tight up against each other. But you definitely want to get rid of any gaps. So it's looking pretty good so far, and I just have this segment to thread on. Let me go ahead and finish it. And I want to show you a little bit of technique, okay? So the way I thread my beads is I hold onto the rod with this hand like this. I grab a segment with my left hand, and then I just thread it directly onto my beading wire. So once again, hold onto your rod, take the bead off, and thread it onto your beading wire. As you can see, I have the bead and the bead caps, and I can go ahead and thread it on very easily just like this. Okay? So I'm almost finished. Takes a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. All right, so here's my necklace. So now we're going to finish off this end. Here's a little crimp bead, my wire guardian, crimp bead cover, thread on your crimp bead, and now you're going to thread your wire through the wire guardian like this, and then back down through the other end like this. Okay, thread the tail back through the crimp bead and through a few of the seed beads. I'm going to use my pliers to pull that little tail through, and now you do want to pull out any slack, okay, just like that. Make sure the wire is sitting inside the little channel of that wire guardian. Now go ahead and place your crimp bead inside your crimping pliers and give it a squeeze like that. Turn it on its side, and now you're going to place the crimp bead inside one of the 3 of the grooves there. I'm going to choose the middle one and then give it a squeeze. Just like that. Okay, pretty easy. Now you're going to take your crimp bead cover and slide it on. Sometimes it's easier if you go from underneath like this. Okay, make sure it's in there, and now go ahead and close it up the best way you can. You want to do it gently, like I said before, because you don't want to damage that metal. And I usually go around the whole thing, make sure that it's nice and round. And you can always use chain nose pliers, guys. Okay, you don't have to use crimping pliers for this, but it works really well for me. You know, that's why I use them. So there it is. And now you can go ahead and cut your excess beading wire. Make sure you use the flush side. Get in as close as you can. So now both of my ends are crimped up, as you can see. I have my 2 jump rings and my lobster claw clasp. And now with some flat nose pliers, I'm going to take one of the jump rings, open it up, attach it to one of the ends like this, attach the clasp like this, close it up. Make sure it's closed nicely, okay? You don't want any gaps. And now on the other end, it's just going to be a jump ring. And you really don't need a clasp with this kind of necklace because it's very long, but I like to put one on because sometimes I like to double up my necklaces. If the necklace is 36 inches long, you can definitely double it up. This necklace is finished. And look how beautiful it turned out. Look how gorgeous these colors are, guys. The neon beads look beautiful with the bronze bead caps and the dark seed beads. It's a beautiful combination. I really, really love it. And like I said before, adding the bead caps to the neon beads tones down the color a little bit, and it just makes the whole thing coordinate really nicely. I love it. And look how beautiful it looks doubled up. Well, anyway, guys, I'm going to put the necklace on and show you what it looks like, and I'll be right back. Well, do you like it long or do you like it doubled up? I can't make up my mind which one I like, but I think I like both. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I hope I gave you some tips and some ideas and some inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.